This is Pixelated Audio, episode 152.
Home run!
Play ball! All right. Welcome back to Pixelated Audio, a podcast focusing on game audio, its history, and the people behind it. We're your hosts. I'm Gene, and this is Brian.
How's it going? Today we're going to be playing music and talking about a game, actually 3 games, that were released in the arcade by Sega, Major League, Super League, and Excite League using the YM2151 sound source. That track that brought us in was the Select Level track from Excite League. Do not have a composer on this. Fun way to get into the baseball mood.
Yeah, this is a really early series of sports games, but there's some really good tunes in here. The later in the series you go, the better they get, but even some fun ones early on.
Yeah. Honestly, we were talking again about like the next show, and we have a few lined up, and this is one that kind of jumped out. Excite League is it's a really short soundtrack. It's a baseball game. So not a whole lot of music when you're actually playing, but these nice little jingles and selection screens and stuff that just make the game in the arcade that much more fun. A lot of really just great early Sega music.
Yep, and Super League is very much a similar kind of game, so we figured for completeness we're going to do a little compare and contrast between those with a little cameo from the first game on the Sega 16 hardware, which... Let's talk about that a little bit. Why don't we?
Yeah, this is interesting. First, so we weren't even going to talk about this game at all, but it does start this series, this kind of long-running series in Sega's baseball arcade, I guess, run, right? So
yeah.
They started out with Major League, and that was released, I believe, in 1985. Yes. 1984, 85?
1985, it was the first game for the pre-Sega 16, so before that board became standardized, they were testing it out. I think Quartet was also on there, but this was the very first game.
And then when the Sega System 16B was released in its final form, they released Super League in 1987 and I think 1988 as well. And then they had an updated version of Super League in 1989. And then Excite League also came out in 1989 for the System 16B hardware. So this is all using, even the early Major League is all using the YM2151. And you can see this progression of sound. We started out with Excite League, which is the last game that we're talking about. And even though there were sequels after that, like Super Major League, and Final Arch, World Series 99, they kept this series going on for quite a while. But these first 3 are kind of important because they were getting its kind of 16-bit C legs, and you could see this really interesting progression, not only in the sound, but in the visuals and the gameplay mechanics.
No Tommy Lasorda baseball, folks, so if you're a big fan, you're going to have to wait for another show for that one. That was sort of the sequel after these games came out. They started doing branded stuff, but yeah.
So let's play a track from Major League, the very first game. You can hear that simplicity. It's still a really great track. Which one have we got, Gene?
We got the track Offense.
All right, that was Offense from Major League. Unknown composer on this one, but I gotta say, nothing screams getting up to bat like some good old-fashioned surf rock baseball music.
What can you say, right? That Chuck Berry 1950s style rock. What says America better than that, right?
It's great. I mean, nice little tune. Again, very little. There's like 2 whole minutes of music in this soundtrack or in this game. Most of it's like, home run music. Like there's a name entry song, team select. That's about all you're gonna get. This is the one that we like the most out of the bunch.
You've heard about a third of the soundtrack, but we can kind of leave that one in the dust. There's not too much to say. I mean, it was 1985. It was very simplistic. We know from our show way back in, video game music started to really develop around 1984. That's when it really started to get its legs. So this early stuff isn't super exciting. We'll get there, I guess.
All right, but I think the gameplay and stuff was still really attractive, right? It has
really nice.
Yeah, it has really nice visuals for 85. I mean, this is still pretty impressive, right? But as we progress in the Sega's baseball titles, we can see like this dramatic increase of just gameplay and what they're able to do. The engineering gets way better. The music engineering gets way better. And that said, let's get into our next track here. This is from Super League. This is called Pennant Race. All right, that was Pennant Race from Super League on the Sega System 16B using the YM2151, and we are not entirely sure who composed this. This rip was done on VGMRips by HarmoDevil, also known as Dr. Devil, and in their notes, they mentioned a few composers that they think could be credited to this game: Tohru Nakabayashi and Hiroshi Kawaguchi. So, I mean, we don't have any way to say that it's not them, so we're just going to go with that for now.
They also listed Katsuhiro Hayashi, which we made a quick reference to in our last episode, because his signature is definitely all over these two games. Was he just gliding through the halls at Sega or something? Because I feel like that
totally
that funky KH vibe is all over like 1986 to 1990.
I can just imagine him walking through the halls at Sega, like flipping a coin, just looking at people as he goes through by their office. Yo. Anyways, yeah, it's a really neat track. Nice bass line in there. You could see how much has changed in just 2 years, right? It's a really big difference. So let's get into our next track. This is Japan Series from Super League on the Sega System 16B.
That was Japan Series from Super League, composed by somebody at Sega around 1986, 1987.
This is cool. It's got a really kind of strangely dissonant sound, but then has this like chuggy bass line in there that's really, really fun to listen to.
I actually like the previous track a little bit more than this one, but this is a weirdly sad baseball tune.
Yeah, this is a weird baseball tune. That's a good point. Yeah.
It's good music, but like
it is.
Just thinking about all of my fans out there and all of the hardships they faced, I got to give them that homer, right? They're looking up to me.
Well, real quick, let's talk about this game. Because it made such an improvement over the previous title, Major League, and not only in the sound department, you can hear those samples are a lot more like instrument sounding, but the visuals are dramatically different in this amount of time. They really are using like a lot more colors. Things are a lot brighter, and the gameplay is a lot fast paced. There's more animations. This feels like a nice baseball. This is actually a nice baseball game. What's really interesting about this hardware is not necessarily the Sega System 16B hardware itself, but the controller is what's interesting. It's actually using a trackball for throwing the ball, and then a little figurine of like a baseball player almost with a bat for the left hand, so you can like swing at the balls that come in, I guess. I'm very confused, but it's interesting. So like if you wanted to throw to first base, right, you slide to the right and it'll go to first base. You slide up, it'll go to second base, and so on. And then when you're pitching, the harder you throw it, more of a fastball, I guess, and slow ball, and then the bat is just the bat. I think you just flick that thing around. I don't know.
I don't have much to say about that specifically, but I will say, if you've ever made a blood sacrifice to Marble Madness and gotten your fingers pinched in there, just know that you're not alone. Trackballs and arcades just don't mix.
This would be interesting to try it. I don't know if I would really enjoy it that much. There's a lot of baseball games I really like, especially, Baseball Stars 2. That's one of my favorite games of all time. But the trackball, I think it works with something like maybe Centipede or something.
I'd like to give it a try, certainly. I love novel control schemes, but, in a game like this, you're probably not like mashing on the thing endlessly, so it's a bit of a different
I want to try
experience.
that bat joystick thing out. That looks pretty cool. Anyways, there's something you wanted to bring up right about the catcher in this one.
Oh, yeah. So
it's all wireframe.
Yeah, so if you've ever played the game Punch-Out, you know how your character is drawn
Super
out in silhouette?
Super Punch-Out.
Was the original Punch-Out too, right? I thought it did. Even in arcades. Well, anyway, the point is,
no.
Super League gives the catcher some nice eye candy. So watch a video of it, take a look. He's very well toned. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, Gene, that's going to be in the episode.
Oh yeah, we're gonna throw a screenshot up. You'll get an eyeful for sure. I think we should move on.
Anyways, let's get into our last track from Super League. This is World Series. That was World Series from Sega's Super League on the System 16B using the YM2151.
It all makes sense now. That bass sound, somebody was like, this is a good patch. We got to save this for Sonic the Hedgehog Spring Yard Zone. I feel like all of these big companies probably had like sound librarians where they were like, oh, this is a great patch. Save this one. Write down the parameters.
Yeah, this is really cool. It's got a lot of, definitely the best track in the game. It's got a lot of variation for, the whole minute it lasts. It really, changes things around, even though you expect it to loop a lot earlier. It's a little bit simplistic, but a lot of fun for the World Series.
See, I prefer Pennant Race, but I do really like this track too. I think there's I don't know, that second half is like, it's super high
very
intensity.
Strange.
Yeah. It's just like, I feel very tense as I'm listening to it. I'm like, is this the same track?
I think that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
That's got to be why I liked it.
No, I think that's the thing. Like, this is the soundtrack, pretty much. Those three main tracks, plus a lot of jingles, Game Over, that one that came in with. There's like a few more, but that's pretty much it.
We got to play like a home run. Play ball. Here we go.
Oh, hit that. Yeah, let's do the play ball.
Yeah, it wasn't that exciting. How about Win? That does kind of sound like a Sonic ending or something.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to 1989, Sega does a one-up on theirself and makes a game that's a lot more fledged out in terms of graphic style, sound, and gameplay mechanics. And this is Excite League using the same hardware, everything they had before, but just really understanding their hardware a lot better over the course of, that year and a half.
Quick note, there is a copyright of 1988, but it was probably right around like the end of the year, because I've seen mixed reports on 88, 89, but that doesn't really matter too much because it's a baseball game from the 80s. Nobody really cares about the release dates. So let's move on to our next track.
I think a lot of those games have copyrights from like a year before because they had to push it out or something for whatever reason. Who knows? Anyways,
doesn't matter. Let's play Pennant Race.
Our next track is it Pennant Race? Is that what we're going to play?
Yeah. The track's named the same, but it's a different track. This is Pennant Race from Excite League.
All right, that was Pennant Race from Excite League using the YM2151 on Sega's System 16B hardware.
It's a nice track. A little repetitive, actually. I'm kind of surprised. I thought it was going to be more dynamic compared to the last game. Not a bad track, though. Yeah,
I feel the same way. I feel like it is a little bit less exciting, but I feel like the samples are a lot cleaner. Like the instrumentation is a lot better, if that makes sense. I agree.
Yeah.
Strangely.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too, and I imagine... Actually, one of the notes on this one is pretty much everything but the longer tracks were reused from the previous game, so there is a lot of patch differences. Should we play the select level again, just as a
comparison? Do you want to do that? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, here's select level from Excite League. Actually, let's do this. Why don't we play about 10 seconds or so of select level from Super League, and then we'll play like 10 seconds from Excite League. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. See, there is a huge difference with the percussion.
Oh yeah, tons more punchy.
Yeah,
it's a much punchier sort of sound.
It's exciting. It's
it is exciting.
There's an X in there. Anyways, the sound, it's just altogether a little more rounded, I think, for the soundtrack. So let's jump into our next track here. This is Japan Series. Again, we heard this on the last soundtrack, but it's got a totally different feel on this one. So let's take a listen. All right, that was Japan Series from Excite League using the YM2151.
Man, if I thought that last track was sad from from Super League, this one is even more mournful. What the heck's going on here?
It's like bouncy sadness.
Yeah,
this is a good track though. You
it
gotta
is.
say,
It's great.
Japan Series, the last one, like I mentioned, it was a little dissonant and a little crunchy. It was really kind of outside of the scope of a baseball. But not saying that this track is any more fitting, but I think that you can hear again really the new like tonal differences and the percussion, the punchiness in this version, this soundtrack compared to Super League.
Yeah, definitely the sound design overall is much stronger. I'll say that. I mean, they've had some time to refine their craft, so to speak.
Yeah. So let's get into our last track, or just about our last track from this game. So World Series was in Super League, and now they call it the Dream Game. I'm not sure if there was any reason for that, but this is basically like the World Series. So let's take a listen to Dream Game from Excite League.
That was Dream Game from Sega's Excite League on the System 16B arcade hardware. It's quartet.
It's totally quartet. It's absolutely quartet. And that's probably why I like it. But this track was the first one I heard actually in the soundtrack. And I was like, oh, we should do this game. There's some fun tracks. We covered a lot of really cool stuff today. I mean, there's only a total of like 5 minutes of music in this game. And maybe 4 in the last one. And like 2 in the one before that. So not a whole lot of tunes to choose from. But I think that what's in these games really is fun, solid, and does the purpose of bringing you into the ball game.
For me, I definitely am missing all of those like sampled voices, like "you're out" and all of that stuff. But you know,
get that in the game, though.
Of course. But in our show, when people listen to this, they're going to be missing.
I'm just going to randomly add those in now.
Those, like the cheering from the crowd, the clapping sounds.
I'll just leave I'll leave the cheering on 100% of this episode. It'll just be the background sounds.
Well, I mean, the point is, this music is definitely really good, and some of it's better than others, but I do enjoy. I don't know how to say this. I love sports games more than I like sports, if that makes any sense.
No, I'm like the same way.
But I feel like especially digging into these older, maybe lesser known sports games is always a lot of fun, especially stuff from like the late 80s, which doesn't get a whole lot of coverage. That's always a lot of fun for me.
That was one of the reasons why this was so much fun, because again, not really like this isn't like, I wouldn't say this is like the best soundtrack by like any of these, but they really are interesting to explore, right? And we had a lot of fun going through them. So do want to give props to Sonic of 8 for doing the Major League rip, and also HarmoDevil for doing both Super League and Excite League on VGMRips. You can check them out. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. We talked about Major League, Excite League, Major League, Super League, Excite League.
Mm-hmm.
I always keep messing up these orders. On the pre-Sega System 16 and the Sega System 16B hardware, all using the YM2151. Composer's a little washy, we don't really know, but we had a lot of fun. A lot of really great music.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about the show, then check us out online at pixelatedaudio.com for the show notes and the track list. We are on Twitter. We have a Discord. We are available in lots of different places. So we even have a YouTube channel if you want to watch this while you're working. For some reason.
Which is weird because you're not watching anything. You're just watching like a static image. We should just like record the actual thing. I mean, I could see you right now, G.
We should. A lot of podcasts are going video, but I don't know. I'm not ready for that.
I'm not ready for
responsibility
more work.
yet. Exactly. Editing video too.
Awesome. If you're new to our show, check out some of our past episodes. We recently did. Man, I'm already forgetting that. What we
F1 Super Battle. Yes.
F1 Super Battle. Yeah, that just came out. We got a few more on the lineup for the short stuff, and then we're going to get back into our more full-length episodes. The hour mark, hour 30 minutes. But until then, sit tight. We got one last track for you. This is Game Over from Excite League. Thank you guys very much for listening, and we'll see you back in like a week for our next episode.